Welcome everybody to the most must-see AfterBuzz TV after show. That's right, we're talking Miz and Maryse episode 2, Miz Takes the Cake. We're going to be talking about that tumultuous cake journey, Miz and Maryse's parents, as well as the last party at Chateu Marmiz. Let's take a look.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, see? It's a song about cake, and the episode is about cake. Isn't that funny? I'm clever, right?
Yeah.
Welcome everybody to AfterBuzz TV. I hope you like my intro. I'm really trying to get that Miz impersonation down. By the end of this, I'm going to be the Miz. I'll cosplay for him for Comic-Con. I'll have it down.
I hope so.
I just got to get the hair going. But like I said, welcome back to AfterBuzz TV Realities. I'm your host, Michael Patterson, and I'm joined beside my co-panelist, Anissa Barr.
Hi guys, how's it going?
We got a great show for you once again. This episode, awesome. I really liked this one a lot better than the last one.
So did I. This episode felt more real.
Yeah, you were mentioning while we were watching the episode that this show's a little bit harder to detect when it's more scripted.
Right. And I felt like this episode, and I feel like this whole season's going to be more real than what we see on Total Bellas and Total Divas, because those two shows, in my opinion, I feel you can just tell it's very scripted. But here, but then again, it's only season 1. Mm. And we both saw that Kevin Dunn is an executive producer of the show.
Well, because we speculated about last week that Maryse and Miz were executive producers. And, and you and I both, we caught it at the same time, that credit roll at the beginning that Kevin Dunn's a producer. And I don't know why I'm surprised.
I was a little shocked. I was like, okay, well then if Kevin Dunn's the executive producer, it could either go both ways. Good or bad, because he is the executive producer of Monday Night Raw.
Oh yeah, definitely. So. Well, and it's kind of interesting now that you watch that with that knowledge, because there's like a lot of kind of small details. Like they don't show Johnny Mundo's by name. Did you notice that?
No, they didn't even show, they didn't even give him a title.
Yeah, I found that
very
peculiar.
Yeah, but I think as a wrestling fan, you know who that is. And plus, Johnny Mundo has 7 different names. Impact, Morrison, Hennigan.
Well, and that's why I'm thinking, before I mentioned his name, I was like, is it Mundo, Hennigan, Morrison? Which one?
If they did put his name in, they probably would have put like Johnny Nitro, former WWE Superstar, because that's how he came in the WWE as Nitro. So.
Probably. Mm-hmm. But overall, you liked the episode?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, because one of the things that I think was lacking for me in the first episode was that it didn't have many storylines to go off of, it teased it, and we talked about that last week. And I think with this episode, it definitely had, its big moments that it hits on, the party, the cake, obviously, the big parts. And so I think that's what we can look forward to from now on, and I'm looking forward to that.
I think the one part I have to say I felt was a little scripted was the cake situation. Yeah,
well, and that's what I've been really wanting to talk about too, because in the beginning it didn't seem scripted. The whole thing where it falls, like the reaction seemed really genuine, but then the whole thing with Marjo finding it and showing it to him,
and then
it almost seems
bringing the big cake that she wanted.
Yeah, it almost seems like it was a little too convenient. But I can look past that.
But
honestly.
Then when he brought the cake back to the bakery, and the women's reaction, that looked legit, because not everybody can have, your natural reaction is going to be your natural reaction. Trying to do it all over again, you can tell it could be fake.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, and before we get too ahead of ourselves getting into this episode, I want to say hey to everybody in the chat right now. I know people are in there, so if you guys have some comments on this episode, answers to questions that I may ask to Anissa that you obviously you can't be here for, we want to see those and engage with you guys, whether in the live chat or in the comments. Love seeing comments from fans in the episode. Got some great results last week, so I appreciate that for tuning in. But so we'll get right into kind of the first topic of this episode, because we're really shown immediately Marjo as the character, and that was something that I said last week that I was really looking forward to seeing. Was, I mean, because she's funny, she's really funny, and Maryse kind of says in the beginning that she doesn't have the best English, but she seemed to be doing pretty well from everything that we saw.
I think when we first, I want to go back years ago. When Maryse first started WWE, you can tell she had a very thick accent, and she barely knew English. And I feel like I get that from her mother, because she said her mom only comes out to see them 6 months out of the year.
Well, and I don't think Maryse knew a ton of English when she first started either.
No. So I think as time of being around a lot of people who knew English, the accent kind of faded away.
Well, especially when you're on American television.
Right.
It's kind of necessary. But yeah, I mean, Marjo's just hilarious.
Yeah.
I almost didn't really expect her to be so funny, because, you know, the show is about, obviously, Miz and Maryse, Miz and Mrs., but I honestly kind of find myself thinking that I might like Marjo and even Mr. Mizinen more than Maryse and Miz sometimes. Do you feel that way?
They are characters, but I feel like that Mr. Mizanin is more out there. I mean, his mom doesn't seem so out there, because we haven't really seen much of her yet.
Well, yeah, when they only showed her, I think, a second, just to give her a title card so that she knew who she was. Right,
but I think I wonder what their relationship was like when he was a kid. Miz and his dad.
Well, and you could even see kind of where the relationship and the kinds of things that they bond over. I mean, because Miz has always said that his inspiration is kind of like Zack Ryder and his dad. You know, they grew up watching wrestling together. Yeah, I was like, you're laughing, because it's that exact kind of relationship. Yeah. You know, and of course that's how it is at the party. They're talking about wrestling and The Rock and classic kind of stuff.
Exactly. I'm surprised that Dad is saying The Rock is his favorite wrestler when the dad's older. Oh, and yeah. He would think, oh no, like maybe Gorgeous George is my favorite wrestler. But
I don't know. I mean, The Rock's a good choice.
Yeah, but I mean, come on. When you're a kid, who was your favorite wrestler?
Oh, me. Jeff Hardy.
Okay, for me, it was Shawn Michaels.
Fair enough.
Come on.
Two great choices.
You know, it's not, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense, but it just, I think what's kind of cool with those two as characters is that they're two very different people. Right. You know, because I think they're from Ohio. Miz and his family are from Ohio, and Maryse and her family are from France and Canada, and they come from two very different backgrounds, but they're both hilarious, just in different ways. And I now am looking more forward to Miz's dad as a character, because it really influenced this kind of whole episode, if you think about it. Yeah. Because the whole thing with the cake and the saving money was because his dad's the kind of person that saves money, and it rubs off on him. Right.
That is true. And that, I feel like that, I mean, I get it. Who does want to spend $50 on an Uber from Burbank Airport to wherever they live? That's expensive.
I was like, trust me, I'm in college right now, so I get that. You know? I get that.
So I get it, but then again, Ohio is much cheaper, way cheaper in LA. You could buy a big ass house and have so many land for a little bit of money. So I get the whole cheap part. I'm a little cheap too when it comes to certain things, but
well, you got to be in Los Angeles. I mean, come on.
I know.
You know, but it's interesting how it kind of they rub off on each other, because a big thing in the first episode that we looked at was the whole, are we going to take a private jet to Texas or are we going to take the bus? And, you know, Maryse was the one who wanted the private jet and Miz wanted the bus, you know, to save money. And here we are with that same kind of plot point here, except just with the cake. Right. And you can kind of see where that's reinforced from, is because obviously Miz gets it from his dad.
And I feel Miz and Daniel Bryan are kind of similar, because Daniel Bryan likes to save money too. And both of their wives are like, no, let's just get expensive stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I think for Miz, we don't know how he grew up, so I hope this season shows us more of their parents, more of how we get to know them more, a little bit more than we think we do. So we know, okay, now we know how that's why he is like that.
Well, and I think that was my favorite part of the episode, honestly, was seeing why Miz kind of is the personality that he is. Because, I mean, I saw the two of them, like the shots in the car. I mean, it was like seeing a clone almost. Just, I mean, because they almost even had the same facial hair too, if you noticed it. They look exactly the same, and they have the same kind of mannerisms too.
Now we know what Miz is going to look like when he's older.
Oh yeah. imagine Miz on TV looking like his dad.
In 30 years.
Will we see Miz on TV in 30 years?
I mean, yeah. He's gonna be in Hall of Fame one day.
Hot take. You heard it here first. Miz first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll take that. But it'll be certainly interesting to see what more we get to see of those two characters. Because do you think that we're going to see them, one or both of them, traveling with them on the way to Texas? Do you think that's going to be...
I think Maryse's mother will.
I think so too.
Yeah, because we from what I know and read and stuff, Maryse's dad isn't around, but she has his name tattooed on him, so I'm assuming he had passed away or anything, and so I feel that the mother is so close to Maryse that she'll probably be tagging along and helping with the baby, as well as, the dogs, the cats, all
shenanigans.
That. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it seems that that's kind of where the show is presenting itself too, because if you notice in the commercials, you see those three characters. They don't really show too much of the traveling, which I think is that's kind of where they're going. They don't want to spoil too much of that, but I think the producers know what they have in Marjo, because she's such a wild card.
Right.
And it almost would seem like it wouldn't make sense if she wasn't on the bus.
Right.
Because either whether she just causes drama, causes, comedy, all this, and then support too. I mean, I'm sure we're going to see her be a very nurturing, supportive character.
And I feel that Miz can't get mad at her no matter what, because that's who she is. And as well as she is from a different country. Not trying to say that's okay to be nice to somebody, but at the same time, that is his mother-in-law. But she, like you said, she's a character. She's different. Maybe she is meant for the camera.
Well, and she's a character just like he is. They're both. I mean, obviously we haven't seen her as much as we've seen of him, especially him as a performer. But I think that might be why he likes her so much. They have this really nice relationship where they're both just kind of messing with each other all the time. I mean, because they even showed it at the end of the episode with the picture and everything. And in the beginning with the pictures, she was loving that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why the funniest thing is that I almost feel like she's kind of a representation of us as the audience.
Right.
Almost.
Right.
She thinks that's hilarious. She wants to look at all these pictures, making comments about him and his body. It's
And she's also a good investigator, too.
Yeah, as we will see with the cake, and that's what we'll go into next. The big cake delivery. This and we talked about this in the beginning as well. I think the cake delivery was probably the most scripted plot point because that's where most of the drama was. But I think the cake segment as a whole in the bakery and stuff was pretty natural. They kind of just went in and were dealing with things. They seemed very natural kind of people. And again, it got back to that whole, are we going to splurge out on the $1,000 cake? Are we going to get the 3-tier cake? Or are we just going to get a sheet cake from Ralph's? Which I think Miz is probably joking a little bit when he says to get a sheet cake. But come on, man, a sheet cake.
I don't think those cakes were $2,000.
I wouldn't be surprised though.
No, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, they're in LA.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's a Los Angeles thing.
The area that they were showing looked like no offense, but I was at the swap meet in LA, downtown. But $2,000 of a cake, you should go to Beverly Hills for that.
Well, and LA's the kind of place where you'll pay $20 for a sandwich. Something crazy that you get for $5 at Subway. So, I can kind of see where Miz is coming from in terms of saving money because...
And I find it... Sorry to interrupt you, but I find it so funny because his character's so Hollywood, so glitz and glam.
Yeah, really.
I make this amount of money, blah, 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 and then here's here he is.
I'm an A-lister, I'm a movie star, Marine 6,
Exactly, and then here he is. $2,000? Okay.
Well, and honestly,
$750.
Well, yeah, and honestly, that just makes me appreciate him as a character more because a lot of people that I've talked to, performers at signings and stuff, is that they say that the best way to develop a character on TV is that when it kind of embodies your personality or someone who's close to you, that kind of personality. And so, as we can see, Miz is not really this crazy decadent person, although he is a little bit of a diva.
Yeah.
as we saw in the first episode with the bench.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's that kind of dichotomy there. It just really makes me appreciate him more as a character, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I just like the Miz because he's great.
Oh yeah, definitely. So obviously the big drama in this whole episode was the lack of delivery of the cake, and of course the shenanigans that fall in that. So is it worth it to take a cake on your own if it's going to save you $90? If you were in his shoes, would that be the decision you would make?
No.
No?
No.
Why?
Because, one, what they should have done was either have his dad in the back seat holding the cake.
Mm-hmm. Or strap it in.
Oh, no, because the belt's going to touch the cake.
But you can get it on the box, though.
No.
See, because I think it makes sense if you were to drive it on your own. Because I feel like I'd be the kind of person that would drive the cake on my own to save $90.
Yeah, but if you had somebody with you, they can hold the cake and make sure that stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah, and on the flip side too, it's kind of like if you're paying that much money for a cake, why wouldn't you go that extra mile?
Exactly.
You know? Especially when it shows that it just didn't pay off at all. You know, I mean, that you had the whole break into the cake. They come back, and you could tell that the bakers were really flustered.
Yeah.
I mean, it almost seemed like that was really real, or that the bakers weren't ready for it.
Right.
You know?
Or unless they didn't tell the bakers, hey, we're going to do something real quick, but we're going to put you on camera.
Yeah, I would say they definitely didn't know.
They probably didn't know.
But I mean, it just kind of goes to show that you should always take those extra precautions. I mean, because the guy spent $2,000 on that cake at the end of the day, plus $200 for, because I think if we look at net worth of that cake, he spent $2,000 on the second cake, $200 for delivery, and then they got the $750 one at the beginning. Am I right? So I mean, that's almost $3,000 for 2 cake. Well, 1.5 cake, you know, give or take, however you're looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Still worth it. I wouldn't take it by myself. No. I mean, I don't even trust myself putting a Costco pizza in my car.
Well, that's why they've got pizza insurance now.
Do they?
Yeah, Domino's has like pizza insurance.
What?
Where you can pay money, or it's like if it gets like broken or messed up on the way home, you can take it back and get another one.
I would have messed, but then people are so sketchy, they're gonna mess it up on purpose to get a second one.
I don't know. I'm sure they have terms, but I'm not surprised why they don't have that for cakes. I feel like if you're selling $2,000
but
cakes,
he just doesn't want to pay the insurance.
yeah, of course, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that the wife is always right. You got to take Maryse's word for it.
Yeah, Maryse is always right. Well, in some cases, but we're only in the second episode.
Well, and it just goes to show out too that, you know, you could definitely tell Maryse was stressed out in the party itself.
That's the problem that I had with her, is being stressed out. You cannot be stressed out if you're pregnant. That is not good for the baby, from what I know, from what I hear. I've never been pregnant. And
Me neither.
good. And it's not good for your body itself. And for her to be that big, she shouldn't be stressing over. And if she's like that, good for Miz. I mean, because I
well, but can you blame her though?
Blame her
for being stressed out for that party? Because I mean, it seemed like it was a pretty big party.
It did.
There were a lot of people there.
It looked like there was a lot of people, but at the same time, I feel like there wasn't a lot of people, unless that was 50 people, and that was a small 50.
Well, and it kind of seemed too that she was the one that was organizing it for the most part.
Right.
I mean, because like she said, that I think Miz was 5 hours late or something.
I feel like it was a little dramatic, because we have to see what time did the party start.
Well, yeah, and you got to kind of just take their word for it.
Right. Yeah. But I also noticed that they got a lot of locals. Like, their friends are very local. Like Rosa Mendez, she lives by the beach.
Yeah.
John Morrison lives up the road.
Yeah, and they kind of, and we'll touch on this in the end in our news
Avril
section too.
Lavigne lives in LA, apparently.
Is that they all kind of live in this Hollywood Hills kind of area. I don't know exactly if it's in the Hollywood Hills, but they all kind of live in this general area. Like, people know where their house is.
Oh, really?
And we're going to talk about that in our news section. So stick around till the end of the episode so you can hear more about that.
I'm excited. But you know what I'm more excited about? Hey, AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We're asking that you please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channels, YouTube will suggest content that tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they're optional. So hit that subscribe button now for this channel and check out other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans, for helping us on ESPN for TV Talk.
Definitely. And the best part is it's free.
Yeah.
I can't complain about free.
Like this.
Yeah, you don't have to spend $90 on a delivery to subscribe to AfterBuzz TV. So.
No, you don't. But you got to pay $9.99 if you want to watch The Miz on the WWE Network.
Oh, yeah. Don't even get me started on the amount of wrestling subscriptions I have right now. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, give me your passwords
It's too
and
much.
usernames.
Too much. But so moving on now, we'll go into the actual party itself. And, you know, we talked about Maryse was stressed out and Miz might not have been the best planner for it, and having to deal with his dad. But it kind of seemed that when the party started, it went really well.
Yeah, I mean, they had fun games to play. I've never heard of the blindfold
Diaper changing.
I've never heard of that before, and I've been to a few baby showers.
I was like, 'cause see, I haven't been to any baby showers. So I don't know what kind of stuff goes on at those kind of games, but I mean, if they've got competitive games, that's my kind of stuff.
Yeah, usually when you have a baby shower, it's usually just women. All the dudes go out to a bar or whatever. But now I'm noticing it's everyone shows up, just like a gender reveal party these days.
Well, and it makes for good TV too.
Yeah.
But see, honestly, speaking about good TV, don't you think it could have been a little bit cooler if they would have kind of done two separate events like that, so that you would cut from the guys, you know, having a rowdy time, and then having all the women at the house, and kind of showing that different thing, because I've always wanted to see how Miz kind of spends his free time, you know, because those guys, and we talked about last week too, that they're so busy, you know.
Right. And not only that, it's like, what is Miz really like without Maryse?
Mm-hmm. Well, because the one thing that
what is Maryse really like without him?
Well, yeah, and because that was probably my biggest disappointment of this episode too, was that they really promoted that Dolph Ziggler was going to be on the show and on the episode, but they really didn't feature him at all, besides the fact that he was just there at the party.
Yeah. That's a little strange. And I noticed the makeup ladies were there too, but they didn't really show a banner for them, but you just know they were in the background somewhere.
Yeah, the guests really
Ryan Cabrera.
Yeah, surprised me.
Like, dude, I haven't seen you since like The Hills.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and then I think it kind of just goes to show the kind of lifestyle they're living almost.
Right.
And who they're kind of around. Mm-hmm. And that they've kind of got these, I guess that kind of lends into his whole A-lister persona.
I guess so, but I mean, well, some of them are A-listers, but...
Oh, yeah. Used to be A-listers.
But it's so funny because... I just wonder, how did they become friends with Avril Lavigne? Mm-hmm. How did they become friends with Ryan Cabrera? Dennis from Saved by the Bell, that I understand because he's a big wrestling fan. But some of the actors that they showed, I wonder how they all became friends. Maybe because of events, maybe because at a party, mutual friends. But still, I just always wondered. I
was like, maybe they just met him from around the corner. Maybe they're just regular people like us.
Yeah, they are.
I was like, I'm not friends with any of my neighbors, so
neither am I.
But what we did see towards the end of the episode was Miz effectively lying to Maryse, and which brings me back to the Kevin Dunn thing. That they really swerved me there. I thought he was going to get away with that lie. Did you think he was going to get away with the lie?
I really did think so. Yeah. I really thought, because that cake. But the fact, nobody ate the damn cake.
Yeah, which That bothered me, but that's for another story. You can't pass up free cake. Come on.
And I don't even like cake, but that looked good.
Well, especially if you're paying $2,000 for it.
Yeah.
But no, I really didn't think he was going to get away with that.
You did think he was, or you didn't?
I didn't think he was going to get away with it.
I thought he was. I really did. And I thought they were just going to move on to this, and right on to the sunset to the next episode. But I really thought he pulled it off. But I guess when Miss Maryse's mother, when she's around, she'll find out.
Well, and it just kind of goes to show their kind of relationship to Miz and Maryse is that it kind of makes you wonder, does he what kind of stuff are they able to get away with in their kind of relationship? And I think maybe too, because when you kind of know somebody and are in a relationship for that long, it's kind of like you can kind of tell when they're lying, and she even says that you're a bad liar.
Yeah.
But I think almost kind of the stress of the party of itself, and that she didn't even want to question whether or not that's what
because
actually happened.
Because she was so excited about that cake.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, that's the one I wanted. That's the one I wanted. And I don't even think they even showed that part of... They didn't even show that part of the episode of her wanting that cake.
Mm-hmm.
So when they put that in there, I was confused. Because she kept saying, that's the cake I wanted. That's the cake. Well, where's the footage where you said you wanted that cake?
Well, because I think that was the $1,000 cake that they were talking about in the bakery. Because you know how they were deciding between the $750 and the $1,000 one?
Uh-huh. Okay.
I think it was the $1,000 one. Because I recognized that gold base.
Okay.
But it's just that, yeah, I don't know how that guy got away with it. That was a good lie. Mm-hmm. And I mean...
Unless he did already pay for that cake, they just did the little cake for that segment.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that kind of just goes to show, too, it gives kind of the producers credit, because, like, I think the whole cake breaking segment was very legitimate. Like, their reaction seemed very legitimate.
Yeah.
And
my reaction was legitimate.
and so it kind of makes you wonder if they had planned for that to happen, because it almost seems kind of unrealistic for them to have a cake delivered, because you could see how the bakers were so flustered. They didn't even know how they were going to do it.
Exactly. And I think the producers just tell them little bits of things to do. They don't tell them, okay, this is what's really going to happen, because they want that general reaction. Yeah,
they just got to roll with it however it goes. Mm-hmm. Well, not to mention, too, is that I don't think it's in their best interest to show, like, a big blow up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, because Miz has always said in interviews, they've both said in interviews that this show is more of a comedy and less of a reality. And so I think kind of more that if we were watching Total Divas or Total Bellas, that we would have seen maybe that blow up there, that confrontation would have happened sooner, you know what I mean? And it would have been a little more hostile. But this kind of worked out in good for both people at the same time.
Exactly, because when you watch... Because when Maryse was on Total Divas, it was very drama-like base. Mm-hmm. And this one is very, like you said, comedy. And maybe that's who they really are, just funny people. And they're just, that's their personality. Mm-hmm. So being serious and stuff like that all the time on Total Divas is, I don't know, could be just hard, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I think it kind of lends to the fact that they are executive producers. Mm-hmm. So they're presenting themselves the way that they want to be presented. And so, maybe that might not be the way that they're portrayed on Total Divas is not necessarily how they'd always react. Mm-hmm. Because on a lot of these reality shows, the producers are feeding them, hey, this happened. This was pretty bad. You're pretty angry, right? Because I'm a huge fan of Big Brother. And so they'll talk about in diary rooms kind of like, yeah, they'll spin things and present them in a way that kind of makes you angry to get that reaction. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, I totally get it.
Yeah, and so I think this show kind of shows a more natural representation of themselves, especially since they're the ones that are probably directing most of this stuff.
Right. I totally agree.
But, well, and especially at the end of the episode with the unveiling of the beautiful portrait from Marjo. And when we were watching it, we knew immediately what it was.
Exactly. I mean, come on.
You can see his hair, you can see the gray behind it.
Way to hide it.
You're like, oh no, she did not.
Even Maryse was like knew what it was.
Well, and it was funny too because in the first episode when they're shooting it, Miz seems to think it's hilarious. Like he looks at all the pictures, he's having a great time. But in the actual unveiling in the second episode, he almost seems embarrassed.
Well, because those are personal photos, you know?
Yeah, but he knows it's going to be on TV.
But do we? Do we know that?
Well, no, he knows that it's going to be on TV.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it like we mentioned it multiple times, it felt like his general reaction. Mm-hmm. And when she showed that, I was like, oh my gosh, like if that happened to me, I'd be like really upset. Even though if they try to push it on me and say, hey, you should do this, you should do this, and I'd be like, no, no. But at the same time, I felt so bad for Miz.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I think that kind of stuff's funny. I mean, and obviously it's a lot easier to say from behind this desk how we'd react as opposed to that kind of actually happening to us. But I would like to think that if I was in that kind of situation that I would make a joke of it too, but obviously I can't blame the guy. I mean, his bare butt is on national television, in front of all of your friends.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he's the guy. I mean, come on, the wrestler guys, they've probably seen a lot of the Miz.
I'm sure.
And I'm sure we've seen a lot of the Miz in WWE. I mean, there's wardrobe malfunctions all the time.
Well, and like you mentioned last week too, I mean, the guy wrestles in trunks.
Exactly.
Like small trunks. So obviously I don't think he's that squeamish.
Yeah, I don't think he's that embarrassed, but I just think it to me the photo looked photoshopped. Mm-hmm. It didn't look like
it was made to be a little less flattering.
Yeah, it didn't look like they were both right there together taking the photo at the same time. It looked like it was photoshopped. Maybe it was.
Yeah. Well, because I think the whole thing's kind of photoshopped anyway with the whole implied
right
stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, it was effective. I thought it was hilarious. The whole episode was hilarious, and that kind of ties right into our news segment for this week. I got two really big news stories for you this week.
AfterBuzz.
There we go. Dramatic, just like these news stories. Well, as you can see, kind of on the screen, we've got the charts of the best 50 original cable telecasts on Tuesdays. And so one of the ones that I found was that Miz and Mrs was the most watched USA reality television launch on the USA Network since Tough Enough in 2011.
Oh, wow.
So
it's number 5.
I was like, it'd be a little bit difficult to see from the screen, but if you can look, Miz and Mrs is number 5. So it fell behind Smackdown, a Guy Fieri show, and then this week's Shark Week. So the two highest rated shows in that time slot were two Shark shows on Discovery Channel. But some of the interesting things it lists in this article here was that it posted 1.5 million concurrent viewers.
That's how many people love The Miz.
Yeah, well, and it's really interesting because SmackDown, one of the things that it lists is that it had 2.3 million concurrent viewers. Okay. And one of the things I look at when I question these kind of things is does the fact that this show was on after SmackDown, does that make it successful, or do you think the buzz around the show made it successful, or are they mutually exclusive?
I think because overall, I don't know what I think right now.
No, it makes sense. It's hard. That's a lot of numbers. If you guys don't understand, that's a lot of numbers. It took me like an hour to sift through all of this. So.
Because you have to remember, a lot of wrestling fans are male, and a lot of them are not. A lot of male wrestling fans are not really into reality TV.
Well, and that's what's interesting to note too, because in the article, it had its biggest. It has the highest demographic in males 18 to 49. Oh. So it performed better in males 18 to 49 than it did for females 18 to 49. But
how do they do that?
But it performed well above average, because you can kind of notice in the green, in all those green sections, that's demonstrative of its above average for that kind of program at that time slot. So overall, the show is extremely successful.
It's doing successful. I think you said it beat Tough Enough in 2011.
It's the best reality TV launch on USA Network since Tough Enough in 2011. Tough Enough has held that title for 7 years until Miz and Mrs. Which is honestly kind of shocking to me because like I enjoy Tough Enough, but I didn't know that would have such a high rating as opposed to all the rest of the reality shows that are on the network.
I think because Tough Enough has been around since 2000, and they bring it back once in a blue moon. It's like, okay, cool, let's see this, because Tough Enough you get to see behind the scenes a little bit and stuff like that.
In the future too.
Yeah, exactly.
If you care about that kind of stuff. But yeah, so it definitely a lot to USA is obviously very happy with this. And,
of course.
And I personally think that having it after SmackDown really helped it because, and obviously it shows, a lot of men are watching that show, and the main demographic for WWE is males 18 to 49. And so, but what I wonder about next week for this episode, do we think that this episode is going to perform as well as last week's?
I believe so. I believe so because this episode was better than last episode, and I hope every episode on Miz and Mrs. is better than the last.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, because I thought this episode was way better.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm definitely going to be looking at those statistics for this coming week to see how it performs. But we'll move on now into our second news story, a little bit more of a fluff. But we were talking about last week how what maybe the decision was behind moving to Texas.
Oh yeah.
And in an article in one of their articles that I found online, an interview with them on The Wrap a couple weeks before this show aired, was that they said the big reason they moved from Texas was because of safety concerns. Is that their house was showing up on, those kind of celebrity like house tours where you'll get on a bus and they'll take you to celebrity houses.
Oh.
So yeah, they were saying that people were showing up on their front lawn and like taking pictures of the house because people knew that's where the Miz lived.
Oh.
And that they had said that there were, quote, were attempted break-ins all the time, unquote.
Oh.
So that definitely makes a lot more sense hearing that information.
That I don't like. Hollywood bus tours.
Yeah.
Don't go to people's houses.
Yeah.
That should be a law in LA.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, that's how people make their money, so I understand.
No, I understand that.
But you gotta respect people's privacy.
But exactly. It's like they go to these celebrities' houses. They even pass the Playboy Mansion. They pass all these other people's houses. Sometimes these celebrities' houses are not even their homes.
Yeah.
So if people are going to think, oh, that's Steph Curry's house right there, people are going to go there, but it's really not his house, and those people are going to be pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's all just a weird game.
And now the fact
honestly.
that The Miz did say that, now it's understandable. But then again, when you move to Texas, people are going to end up finding out where you live.
Yeah, but I think it'll be less so, the amount of people, because obviously when you're on a tour, everyone's going to see it,
Right.
Well, and because another thing I saw in that article was that they almost chose Las Vegas. They were choosing between Las Vegas and Austin, Texas. Because Las Vegas, that's also where Renee Young and Dean Ambrose live.
Yeah, I mean, you should have gone to Vegas.
Well, but I've heard on podcasts that Renee Young doesn't necessarily enjoy living in Las Vegas all the time. But a big reason people live there is because the taxes are lower there on entertainment and income and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
She did it on a podcast. They were either going to live in Vegas or a different state. But they chose Vegas.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the same time, Vegas, I mean, everyone goes to the Strip. They don't go to people's houses.
Yeah.
All
right. So definitely interesting to seeing that thought process there. But we're going to move on now into our last segment of the show. We're going to be going into predictions for the next episode.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
I know, right? Can we get a Twilight Zone after show?
No.
We need to do that. But so predictions. The next episode is called Certified Super Dad. What do you think that episode's going to be about? What are we going to see?
And they didn't do a promo for this one, right?
No
Nowhere.
rollover promo.
That's one thing that I wish they did, was to do a promo for the next episode so we know what we're getting. But also, it's really cool that they're not doing that, is because just the title itself, we get to guess on what it is. What is the title again? I'm sorry.
Certified Super Dad, along those lines, if that's not correct. But I'm pretty sure that's
I
correct.
think what she's gonna do is fake that she's having a baby, and then he's gonna test him.
Ooh, that's smart. That would be some evil stuff. But I could definitely see that. I was like, she played that character on TV. I can get that.
Oh yeah, total heel.
But I think in terms of predictions, I think we're gonna see the beginning of the move. I think that's gonna be the big plot point of the next episode, because the show's only 6 episodes long this season, and we're now moving into the halfway point of the show.
One thing I wish they would have shown in the beginning was their gender reveal.
Yeah. And they kind of glossed over that.
They glossed over a lot of stuff, because I do remember that he posted this on his Instagram in October, because it was an October theme. She was Cinderella, he was the prince, and people dressed up, and they did a party at their house, and we ended up finding it was a girl. But I wish they showed that part on the first episode, and then transformed to what we know now. But go on. I'm so sorry, I totally interrupted you.
No worries. I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna start to see the move. It just makes to me it makes the most sense logically, because I feel like that's a story you're gonna have to tell. Excuse me. At least 2 episodes long.
Right.
But I guess that gives us incentive to watch the next episode, and I hope you guys are going to be watching the next episode along with us, and keep watching this after show. We definitely enjoy the support. Unfortunately, that's all the time we've got for tonight, but definitely stay tuned for next week. We're going to post an update on times. We might be shooting at a different time next week, different day, but we will definitely keep you guys posted. So be sure to follow us on social media. Where can we find you on social media?
You can follow me on social media at Anissa Barr. I was at PCW this past weekend. I saw Flip Gordon. Yes.
Awesome.
And very nice guy. Met Brody King. Very nice guy.
Also very nice guy.
Yeah, we do pins for him for where I work. We do some cool stuff for him. We're also going to be doing some cool stuff with wrestlers. We are actually doing a cool design with a wrestler that I mentioned on the show. Don't know who it is. I'm gonna guess.
Stick around.
If you're in the California, SoCal area, I'll be at Bar Wrestling Thursday. It's gonna be really fun. Chelsea Green, Eva Lise, Eli Everfly, Brian Cage. So much action going on. So go there. It's so much fun. Joey Ryan, of course, because he's freaking fantastic. And me. I'll be there. So follow me on social media, and please sign up for my giveaway, because I have a lot of stuff I want to give away.
Oh yeah, lots of free stuff. Everyone wants free stuff.
It's free stuff.
Yeah, but anyway, get that free stuff, and also be sure to follow me on social media at Mike Pat News, MikePattnews. Once again, my name is Michael Patterson. This is AfterBuzz TV Realities, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.